Hello everybody, Happy New Year to you all. Welcome to 2026 and welcome to Loftus Road. Norwich City begin the year looking for what would be 3 precious points in their battle against the Championship drop. We are here to bring you the team news any minute now. We are expecting that to drop and we will see obviously whether, if at all, Jovan Makama has made the matchday squad. We've seen him here on the pitch and it looks a very poor pitch. We will come on to that. There's literally a hole in the middle of it in that half I've just noticed, which maybe sums up where
we don't have a lot of grass down here in West London.
It's not good. No, but I think we put pictures on socials and whatnot, and actually those pictures make it look better than it looks in the flesh, particularly the half that Norwich City are going to be warming up in very, very shortly. We are just awaiting that team news, and it'll be interesting to see what changes, if any, Philippe Clement has made from Monday's defeat to Watford, that last gasp one. And in fact, here is the team for you now. Norwich City have Kovacevic in goal. Fisher, McConville, Cordoba and Kruzene are the back four. Maatsen and McLean, the midfield two. Jurasek, Wright and Schlartau behind Josh Sargent. So I'll just run that through for you again. Kovacevic in goal, Fisher, McConville, Cordoba and Kruzene are the back four. Maatsen and McLean are the midfield two. Jurasek and Schwartau on either flank with Jacob Wright behind Josh Sargent. The subs bench, Daniel Grimshaw, Jack Stacey, Harry Darling, Lucian Mahovo, Tony Springer, Anis Ben Slimani, Emi Marcondes, Jovan Makama does make the bench, and Matthias Kriskoren as well. So that is how Norwich City line up, and I think Paddy, as Philippe Clement, to be fair, has spoken about throughout this festive period, there was always going to be changes, and today that rotation comes in the centre-back area. Harry Darling drops to the bench. Jose Cordoba starts alongside Rory McConville.
He said in answer to the question on Rory McConville a couple of presses ago that, as well as he played, that there would come a time when rotation was required, and he's obviously flipped that slightly, and he's gone with the other centre-back today. Interesting. For me, that's probably a reflection of what they expect from QPR. And now I've seen this pitch, I don't think there'll be a lot of football getting played. I think it'll be direct, be physical. They'll try and turn Norwich. And Cordoba, we know there's areas of his game where he needs to work on, but I think he is good in those duels in terms of having to run in behind and turn and go into the channel. So for me, I can see that selection. Kruzeni and Mahovo, he's clearly managing both of them back to a point where he doesn't need to interchange them so much, and maybe one of those two will emerge as maybe in his mind, like Kellen Fisher clearly is on the other side, the first choice. So I can see that. Maatsen McLean, that clearly now they're fit, they play. I don't think there's any rotation he's going to broker in that area of the pitch. But obviously the eye-catching one, and I'm sure there's plenty of comments already flooding in, is Jurasek back in. Didn't really work, him and Slimani against Charlton. First 45 minutes, Connor Road, Boxing Day, got the hook. Talked about both having a lack of rhythm. We know the backstories for both in terms of the fitness issues and challenges. But then it wasn't a great look, was it? Closing stages against Watford, where he throws on Liam Gibbs instead of Tony Springer and Jack Stacey as well. And Jurasek, a right-sided attacking option, remains on the bench. But today, he's decided that this is the environment for him to have a start. And now the window is officially open. I think that's all very intriguing. You know, is this really effectively the last chance saloon for Matej Jurasek in a Norwich shirt under Philippe Clement? It may well be. We've seen nothing of any note today. He's already he said to you yesterday, creative areas is where he's looking in window. We know they're looking at wide players. So I think if I'm Matej Jurasek, it's now or never today, I think.
Yeah, it just feels like he needs a moment, doesn't he? Something to spark a little bit of life into a Norwich career that clearly started now 12 months ago and has been very fragmented and, just has not got going in any sense. Interesting couple of bits around that. Liam Gibbs, who you mentioned, Paddy, came on, not even in the squad today, which I guess is a reflection of the rotation, but clearly given the fitness stuff, I'm sure we'll ask Philippe Clement about that. Marcondes back in, still no Jakov Medic in the matchday squad, and obviously the big news, Paddy, that Jovan Makama, despite some concern over illness, at least makes the squad and makes the bench.
You've seen how big a boy he is. I don't unless he's really struggling illness-wise. When I heard that, I wasn't overly concerned, but you know, you made the point on the drive down. You know, there was this talk around a knock earlier in the festive programme. Was that more related to maybe feeling not quite there in terms of fitness-wise? Because he was a bit unspecific in terms of what type of knock. And, of course, there was that game, as you rightly pointed out, on the drive down where I think he was named in the lineup and pulled out. Was that Southampton that day? I can't remember. One of the recent Carrow Road home games where he was there and he was in the group and then he wasn't involved. And then Philippe had reported that. I think he said he'd been sick that morning in the camp, so they took no chances. Can't remember the game off the top of my head, but pretty recent. So is he just generally, it's that time of year, isn't it? We've all had to suffer with a little bit of coughing and colds and what have you. So, but that said, I think it would have to take something more for Jovan McCarma not to be in the mix today. And glad to see Marcondes back. I thought he was a little bit harshly done by to come straight out of the match day 20 against Watford, because I think he does offer, again, he's a player who maybe promises more than he actually delivers in terms of his entire Norwich career, but there's no doubt there's a technically proficient footballer there, and in the right type of games he has the ability to be a difference maker, as McCarma has proven. So I'm quite liking the fact you've got Marcondes, McCarma and Chris Gordon there to change this game up in an attacking sense should they need it. So I like the balance in that bench mix, if I'm honest. And but again, I'll go back to the first segment. Jurasek, Wright and Schwartau, that's an interesting trio. I don't think those three played together as a three? Not sure they would have started as a three, so good opportunity today, because I think Jacob Wright, for me, has took a major step forward now, and he looks like the most logical answer in that 10 role of the available options inside the club. Schwartau equally, and but there is a position on the right, and to be fair, Schwartau is probably a little bit fearful now that Papa Amadou Diallo is due back in the mix, and we can quite clearly see from Clement's comments he wants that lad in his team, and he wants to be able to work with him, who's a more out-and-out wide player with the pace to maybe work in transitional moments where they seem to be chronically lacking. So even Oscar Schwartau, as good as he's been, is probably a little bit fearful, but it's that right-hand side, keep coming back to it. There is a window of opportunity, but it's pretty narrow for Mate Jurasek, and it probably does hinge on what he does today, I think.
Yeah, and in terms of creativity more generally, I mean, as much as we talk about Schwartau and Wright, there probably is a need, as Clement also highlighted, for that kind of output, I guess, in those positions. Schwartau obviously scored recently away at Watford. I think there's been some really good performances in there. He's still obviously very young. Jacob Wright, likewise, stepping into a new position. I think he's done well, but at some point, Norwich are going to need goals and assists from those areas, because without McCarma, I think you have to go back to that Watford game for a different Norwich City player to have scored, which is a little bit problematic given the position they're in, and when goals and points, crucially, are the only currency they require at the moment.
Yeah, and you're only going to tick over those points if you have the ability to come here, or Carrow for that matter, and score. And it's not a huge concern for me, but I have to be honest, since Southampton, have they played well? Have they actually, in terms of control of the game, at what they've done on the ball, the chance creation, they've scratched out results, which is a testament to the resilience that he's talked about, and I think we can all see that now, certainly in contrast with what went before he walked in the building. But I look at it,
I think it's been a regression last
Preston, Charlton and then Watford, they've not played well, let's get it straight. In contrast to the Southampton game, I thought periods at Sheffield United, they were good. Watford away, they were good. On the ball, the movement, the fluidity, progressing the ball, getting in wide areas. I mean, I look at those two Watford games, Vicarage Road, they had so much joy in behind fullbacks. We didn't see any of that the other day. That's a concern for me. And whether that is, a group who naturally were going to respond to a head coach, but are they now starting to regress a little bit? And Clement is well aware of that, I'm sure. You can see that. And is not a fool and knows that they need help in the window. But we'll maybe get more evidence of that today. If they come and they're similarly unconvincing on the ball, then it is a concern, I think.
Yes, some changes for QPR, and most sort of interestingly in their goal position, which is interesting. Nardi comes in for them, back four of Mbwene, who was rested against West Brom on Monday. Dunn and Steve Cook, who returns to the side. Norrington Davis as left back. Former Norwich loanee Isaac Hayden starts alongside Madsen. It's Dembele, Smith and Burrell behind Kone. And Burrell scored QPR's goal at Carrow Road in that late November victory. Their subs bench: Hamer, Morrison, Fields, Morgan, Vale, Varane, Coley, Poku and Sato. So that is the QPR lineup, and they have 4 straight wins here. They are the most informed team at home of anyone in the Championship, and that Paddy, to an extent, sums up the run that Norwich have been on. And we've been in other places, Sheffield United, Preston recently, Southampton as well, teams who have been towards the top of the form table or in and around that, and they have produced performances and results. So that has to give a degree of confidence. QPR obviously beat Leicester here 4-1 last time out as well, and clearly, as we said, where Norwich City are 4-point gap between them and safety. Oxford travelling to Ipswich. We saw a lot of their fans in the services earlier today on their way to Portman Road, and Charlton have Coventry, Portsmouth away at Bristol City. There is an opportunity here for Norwich, Paddy, if they can engineer any kind of result today.
There is, but they are good at home. Clearly, that recent SEMA results would tell you that, and. Read his programme notes. Julian Stefani's talking about a revenge mission from that Carrow Road game recently. They didn't feel they played particularly well. They turned up, I think, at Carrow Road that day off the back of 2 away wins, I'm not mistaken. And that goes back to my previous point. I thought Norwich were good that day. They dominated the flow of the game, controlled the territory, controlled the possession, and deservedly ran out 3-1 winners. But, there's no doubt this feels a tougher assignment today. And, but I'll go back to my previous point. For me, it's not so much about QPR. Put that to one side. You know they're going to be good here. It's usually a difficult place to come anyway, any time of the season. For me, it's about can Norwich rediscover what they were showing under Clement prior to these last 3 games on the ball. Because if not, then it increasingly feels like a heavy load is getting placed on additions in the January window, allied to Jallo coming back in, because that would then be a growing body of evidence that this group of players aren't able to find that consistency over a longer period. Yes, they could go toe-to-toe. We've seen that now under Clement, but you'd want a bit more control, a bit more sense that it's Norwich dictating. I mean, let's be honest, the other night, I can't find anybody who agreed with his assessment of that game, that they were the better side, that they created the better chances. Not for me. Look at the highlights again, and okay, if it had been a draw, I don't think you'd have had too many complaints on either side, but I think Watford's system was better than Norwich's on the day. I think they controlled most of that game. And
they, to me, like they were in a lower gear, to be honest.
And if they had continued as they started the first 20 minutes, they would have won that game comfortably. So I'm not really buying that. I understand where he's coming with his messaging, that he needs to, as he said after the game, him, his players, anybody connected with the club cannot treat it through the eyes of a fan where you're too high, you're too low. They've got to stay emotionally level. So maybe that was part of his messaging after the game, externally as much as internally. But he's no fool. He knows they probably dropped off it in the last 2 or 3 games, and they need to pick it up again. And pretty quickly, given they kick off today 4 points adrift.
I mean, let's just talk about this pitch. We were talking about one at Preston a couple of weeks ago in terms of the quality or lack of it. Where does this one rank? I mean, to be fair, the other half that we're looking at looks okay. There's some sort of there's some grass on it in the other penalty area. But this half we are in, which is where Norwich are conducting their warm-up at the moment, and particularly over the far side, there's a big, long stretch of turf, really, lack of turf over that side. I think Rob Butler, our Radio Norfolk colleague, has put a picture on there. You can have a look at it. It's it's not the best pitch in the world, Paddy. I think that's probably being diplomatic.
Trying to think, where was there a dicey pitch recently? Was it Preston? Yeah. Preston looks like Wembley compared to that surface. I've got to be honest. And we're talking through the prism of 2025, 2026 quality of pitch. I mean, go back a generation or two, and this is this time of year, you'd view this as a good surface. And I don't think there'll be anybody using this as any excuse, but given I think Clement is of a mind to try and get the ball down and try and control on the floor, it's not conducive to that. So, you go back to that selection, and I look at Jurassic and I look at Wright, and they look like more ball players to me. So, do they fit the selection? Time will tell. I think Matson and McLean can adapt their game on this pitch, and maybe that's reflective more in terms of going back to what I said at the start, a Cordoba coming in, because I think on this surface, QPR aren't going to be trying to move it through the thirds. They're going to go long, they're going to go early, and they're going to go second ball territory. So that is clearly, now looking at that playing surface, a key area of this game and the outcome today. If Norwich are second best on the second balls, they'll probably get beat.
How do you see it going today?
It's tough. I can't say with any confidence I would fancy Norwich to come here and get a win. But equally, talked about it a little bit on today's broadcast. They went to Sheffield United and they went to Preston, 2 teams who were in very good form, generally, not just at home like QPR have been. And I think they've merited what they got and probably deserved a little bit more. So, same group of players, same head coach. Yes, they can come here, no doubt, and get a positive result. but they need to pick up the pace from where they haven't been for me in the last 2 or 3 games on the ball. If they do that, then yeah, they're more than good enough to come here and get a result. But off the back of the last 2 or 3 games, I'm going to probably sit on the fence, score draw. You?
Yeah, I'm probably edging towards a home win, to be honest. Just given where QPR are, there's an opportunity for them. I think they need results to go in their in their way, basically. But they could move into the top 6 today. Very good here. This is sold out as well, which I've been to Loftus Road quite a few times. I don't think I've ever seen this place sold out. So that's maybe a reflection of the mood inside this place as well. I think this could be tough. But that being said, Norwich have at least that muscle memory of getting a result against them very recently, so we will see how it all unfolds. Of course, Binkin.com, the place to go throughout the afternoon. Plenty of analysis and reaction. We've got our live blog up and running over there as well. We're in for a long afternoon if it's 6-5 to Norwich, I can tell you that.
Proper festive old school, that, isn't it?
It is.
To play every
what was that Boxing Day? That famous Boxing Day in the 60s, 70s. Well, I think Ipswich lost 10-1, but there was a 4-4 that was
they used to play the following day, didn't they?
Yeah.
Us talking about the state of this pitch, I mean,
just get on with it.
Get over it. Get on with it. Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you all very much for watching. Of course, the games come thick and fast. We'll be back at Carrow Road on Sunday for that. The team news ahead of that Stoke game. Plenty more across our channels throughout this afternoon and beyond. And let's hope Norwich City can get a result and do their survival bid a little bit of good.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year to you all. I hope 2026 is a happy and healthy one, and hopefully a better one for Norwich City. See you soon.